Hi, I am Jennifer, and I am one of the marketing managers here at Brine. And today we are going to be making corned beef with our chuck roast cut. Traditionally, corned beef is made with the brisket cut, but I decided to experiment with our chuck roast, and it worked out great. So we're going to share the steps on how to prepare this with you, and then share two recipes. So we're going to be brining and making the corned beef, and then we're going to make a corned beef hash and a traditional reuben sandwich. All of pre-meat is wet aged, comes in patented packaging, and it's really great because if you buy it fresh, as opposed to ordering it online where it comes frozen, and you need to freeze it, you just simply rip off the package from the cardboard and you can just throw it in the freezer, and it will freeze beautifully. So with our wet aged product, generally speaking, if you were using one of our steaks or our ground beef product, you would want to blot it dry before you cooked it to get that moisture off so you get a nice sear. In this case with the corned beef, we are putting it in a bunch of liquid, so you don't really have to do that. You just have to take it out of the package. And in this case, we're gonna set it aside because we're gonna make the brine first and cook the brine, let it cool, and then add the meat. For the brine, it's really simple. You are going to take about a gallon of water and add it to a pan that is large enough to hold the brine plus the 3 pounds of meat. And to this, we are going to add 1 cup plus 3 tablespoons of kosher salt. And about 3 tablespoons of pickling spice. You can make your own, which is time consuming and labor intensive, or you can just buy a pickling spice. Pretty much anyone will do. It's gonna have a mixture of like mustard seed and clove and other herbs and spices. You're gonna add 3 tablespoons of that. You are going to add a half a cup of brown sugar. And then the special ingredient is a curing salt. You can get this online or at a high quality butcher shop. This is in pretty much all sausage. It does have nitrates in it, and it is frighteningly pink. You're only gonna use a little bit, 5 teaspoons. What this does, besides aiding in the curing, which is basically the salting, is it's going to give the meat that pinkish red color that we associate with corned beef. You don't have to use it to get the same flavor, but your beef is gonna be like a brownish gray color and not that corned beef red. Up to you. So you're gonna take the brine and put it on the stovetop and bring it to a gentle boil and then turn it off. So our brine has come to a gentle boil and we've turned off the heat and let it cool down a little bit. I like to hasten things up by putting it in the refrigerator. You wanna let it cool down for maybe 10 minutes or so before you put it in the refrigerator. And we're gonna let it cool and then we're gonna add the meat. You don't wanna add the meat to the warm brine because it's gonna start steaming the meat. You actually wanna brine the meat, not cook it at this point. So we're gonna let that cool down a little bit. As it does, we're gonna add the meat and it's just gonna sit for 5 days. So we have our cooled brine, which we've taken out of the refrigerator and put into a storage container that we're gonna put the meat in that's going to brine for 5 days. So you want something that's like hard plastic, could be glass. It just has to be large enough to fit the meat and be submerged in the brine and fit in your refrigerator. So the meat is in. You definitely want it submerged. I usually put a plate on top of it or something to hold it down, because sometimes it will sort of pop out of the brine. So there you go. And then this is gonna go back into the refrigerator for 5 days. You could probably do it anywhere from 3 to 7. So you wanna leave yourself enough time. Okay, so it's 5 days later. Actually, it's really not 5 days later. We did this 5 days ago. So this is some raw meat that has been in the brine for 5 days. This next step is really easy. You're going to take the meat out of the brine and you're gonna rinse it in cold water. Just give it a rinse. It's okay, it still has some of the pickling spices on it. Then you are going to add that meat to a pot with fresh water. This just has plain water in it, no salt, no spices or anything. Do that with the other piece. And you can easily half this recipe, double it. So if you didn't want to make this much, you could do it with 1 chuck roast, just kind of cut the other ingredients in half. Or if you wanted to double it, make sure you have a pot big enough and enough room in your refrigerator. So those 2 raw pieces are now submerged in clean water. We are going to get our pickling spices. And I'm going to eyeball 3 tablespoons. And you kind of you can add too much, but if you're off by a tablespoon or so, it's not going to matter. And you're just going to put it on the stove. You can do this in a slow cooker. Obviously, you're going to cook it a lot longer. Or you can do it in a pressure cooker. I've tried both and they both work. If you're using a pressure cooker, just cook according to the poundage of meat that you have. You're going to leave the lid off for now and just bring this to a gentle boil. You're going to put it down to medium-low and just let it cook. I'd say 2.5 hours, but you can just let it cook and cook and cook. It's kind of hard to screw up a pre-chuck roast if you're using this kind of method of cooking it in liquid. So we're just going to let that go and we'll show you what the finished product looks like. This is our corned beef that has come out of the pod after about 3 hours. Certainly not winning any beauty contests right now. It's not even looking particularly appetizing, but it tastes delicious, we promise. So it's going to be in these chunks, and depending on what you are making with it, you can cut it a variety of ways. I like to just slice it. We slice some for our Reuben sandwiches, and I'm going to taste it. It's delicious. Official.